Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Middlecott and Veteran. Are you okay there? What was that dancing? Are you medically all right? Is that everything cool, bro?
Do not allow anyone to tell you to stop dancing or belittle your dancing abilities, guys. Don't be self-conscious about being free, all right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. We are going to have some more... congratulations. Well done. We are going to be having some more League of Legends this evening, though we have got Nativz 0-10 still hunting for their first win up against a Riddle side that have made it their business to avoid giving too many teams wins. 9-1 at the top of the table. Veteran, we're looking for maybe an upset here, but it is honestly a hit against hope.
I'd say most teams make it their business to deny as many wins as possible. Just Riddle have been quite successful in the NLC context at doing that. And part of the reason why is because, I've said this before, but I have to keep restating it. I think these guys are just the only ones actually playing the meta in full, with one critical exception, right? So, whereas they clearly have figured out mid-jungle, they still generally played bot lane more as a scaling role, with Kiba on the Lulu duty. But now with Jinjo, they have the opportunity to play full meta, because Jinjo, he's a very aggressive bot laner, plays very full plates, and he did that even when it wasn't the meta. He should be fine here, but the one game they had of him was still their one loss. I don't believe that's because Jinjo is like a bad player or something, but obviously Riddle have growing pains with someone like Jinjo, and also that was against Ruddy, who have them Voxnay, who is someone that can easily take on basically any AD carry in the entire ERLs. He's very, very strong. I do want to see, though, this is more of a quote-unquote free game from Riddle. If they can play through a player like Jinjo as aggressively as we'd like to see them play. The Zeri's being banned, that's really good ban. If Reptile was still there, but he's not, that's not the kind of thing I'm going to associate with a player like Jinjo. I'm now thinking about, Ashe kind of lanes, Varus lanes, Caitlyn lanes, these kinds of things are what I'd expect Jinjo to do, and also his signature Jhin. But they've actually removed Varus on their side, Ashe is being removed from the side of Nativz. Elise, Maokai are both open, and I think Johan's a player that could very easily make an impact with the Elise, and I think Jinjo, Kiba are the kind of players that will give you the follow-through that you need to pick that kind of champion. It is disappointing to see that we're on this kind of a pick ban. I hope this, thank God, man. Okay, so Caitlyn screams Jinjo to me and screams the kind of Jinjo playstyle. Both Elise and Maokai are up, and if you have the winning bot lane, which an opening Caitlyn allows you to get, either in the support role or paired with the Lux, you can go either of those and guarantee a dive on bot lane early. So do you want to give them the Elise and have an impossible to win 3v3 on bot side, or do you want to go for the Maokai trade instead? Jhin being locked in, I haven't seen this for a while. With Jinjo, I'd actually expect the Jhin. But something that could potentially allow them to win skirmishes so long as they get DPS off in the jungle could also be Jhin support, right? If Riddle looks to do like the Heimerdinger or the Karma, ADC supports are the counter to those. But bear in mind, guys, we're no longer in 2022, we're no longer in 2021, we're in Season 13 League of Legends, and this Caitlyn could actually be a support pick as well. The Karma being paired with the Jhin, Caitlyn already there's a potential counter to it, but you also have the Heimerdinger up, but it's Kiba, they put him on Lulu duty all the time. I hope not, I hope we see the Heim, the Lux is hovered, the ADC supports. This would actually allow Kiba to play some League of Legends for once and not be catatonically depressed in the interview afterwards.
Hey, he was loving playing Lulu. What are you talking about, Veteran?
Boom, baby, you win. Okay, this is Riddle are looking to speed run this game against Nativz if they lock this Elise in. This is the combo. Not quite sure where we got it. No, go back, go back. I hate everything about this. Go for last pick Kassadin. I CBA. Like, I hope Nativz go for last pick Kassadin here. They have the stream up. They have the stream. They know what I want to see here. Why would you do that here,
we're on a 3-minute delay, veteran. They've just disagreed with you. It's happened. It's unfortunate, but it does occur. Now, this Olaf actually for Nativz. So I was scrolling a bit of Twitter, like I do, like 7 hours a day earlier, and Scooter posted a pretty nutty highlight of him popping off on the Olaf, and carry tops isn't really something that we've seen from Nativz for the last couple of weeks. And with this bottom lane of the Jhin and Karma that can be a bit more supportive and enabling, maybe we see this Olaf popping off on the top side.
Least terminally online League of Legends caster.
Absolutely.
Paired with the Karma, the Olaf is very, very scary in the mid game. Obviously scary in the early game as well. But yes, it's a good composition to set up for him. The Jax and the Tryndamere have both been banned, both good picks into the Olaf. Jax just a good pick in general. But Bandera still has the Camille, he still has the Fiora. He still has options. Not sure we're going to see something like a Vayne here. Still kind of mind-blowing we don't see the Elise, otherwise I'd be saying they win every 2v2. The fact that the Maokai is still open, though, is very worrying to me, because a Maokai going towards top side in this kind of composition, or bot side to play off the Jhin Karma picks, that would be scary. A Karma Maokai is a classic setup, right? The point and click CC, and with the Yasuo, you have a very strong opener to go, the Maokai later. And massive amounts of AP damage of AD top, AD mid, and ADC. The Maokai fits so well with the Nativz composition, and I hope they pick it, because Riddle could have picked Elise and just rammed the fist up Nativz for the entirety of the game and go for a speedrun win and prove to us that they can make the Jinjo pairing work. But they went Sejuani. You know, I guess there are Elise players, and then there's Johan, right? Like, so I'm the world's biggest Nativz fan.
You're gonna be waking up in like cold sweats, like
dude,
tonight.
If they got Kate Lux Elise, oh my god, man, I was loving life.
It was there. They had the choice, but they went for Sejuani instead. And Banderas is going to be piloting the Scion, actually, in the top lane, which is going to provide a bit of tankiness. Hold up, is this? I don't know what this is.
Sejuani mid.
No.
It's Sejuani mid. Fire Rain loves to play these utility carries on the mid... not really carries, but these utility champions on the mid lane, like the Lissandra. The Sejuani fits perfectly with there, and is a strong pick into the melee-based champions of Nativz, right? Paired with the Viego, you have a really strong setup. The Diana is a really interesting counter pick in towards the Viego. But ultimately, I would have still preferred the Maokai here, right? But you can still see the synergy of the Karma. What is up with teams unable to play Maokai? How hard is Maokai some mechanically intense champion?
I think it depends on your rank, veteran. I'm still in shock that we're getting a Sejuani mid lane. Can you? What does this pick do? What's the goal here that Fire Rain's going for with this champion?
Same as the Lissandra, right? Clear wave, roam, massive ultimate, play for bot lane. Especially for bot lane here. We did just see this in the LEC middle cut. Are you not? With Caps playing it in the mid lane.
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to catch a lot of LEC this split, which it just pained me a lot. But we've got you here, the experts on everything European in terms of League of Legends to talk us through.
And Master Dancer as well. But yeah, no, the Sejuani operates very similarly to the Lissandra. Arguably has stronger build paths though, because he can take advantage of stuff like the Radiant Virtue that is really, really good in the meta right now. It's good setup with the Viego, and it's very strong setup for the bot lane. So I imagine we're going to see a lot of playing through bot here. Again, I prefer it to have been an Elise, but if they were planning to go something like this, that's something that we haven't really considered. We haven't seen Fire Rain on AD champions in mid lane. If you go something like the Elise, you expect something like the Tristana in mid lane, but Fire Rain has stuck with these utility Doinby-esque mages so much that maybe if you go the Elise early, you're going to just end up into a free Kassadin angle for the opponents. That's something we haven't considered too much. Maybe it's not an option for them to go the Elise and the Maokai, in which case, if I'm a team that's not looking to lose in 15 minutes like Nativz, I could be thinking, is this an area of draft where we can get some exploitation out? Especially if you're ruddy, you can almost force a Kassadin ban at any point.
Yeah, but because Nativz is just like insane on that pick, and we haven't really touched as much on the Nativz composition here, but I feel like we've got some fairly clear identities emerging. More supportive bot lane, like we've already touched on, and this top side. I'm just seeing wombo combo skirmish potential absolutely out the wazoo. This Olaf is going to be insane in the early levels, and all three of these champions, I feel like they spike massively at 6.
Yeah, and a lot of it is about this Karma synergy with the Diana, right? But the Diana crucially sets up the Yasuo. The Karma also has really strong synergy with the Olaf. It's a very heavy 2-item spiking composition that you're seeing on the right here from the Nativz lineup. And if they get their damage off, they just wombo their opponents, right? It's a very good characterization of them. And even if they don't completely delete them, which has become progressively difficult, especially if Radiant Virtue comes in from Fire Rain, what you still have is the Jhin, right? People need to think about Jhin in terms of assassin scenarios. When you're looking at a reset assassin like Katarina or Tristana, you're looking at those scenarios where the enemy is on 300, 400 HP, and that's the first reset for Trist, the first reset for Katarina into a full fight. In the exact same scenario, Jhin is the most comfortable. Not because he's going to roll up and four-shot you, but because he's going to press R and none of you can block, you're all dead, and it's a really simple cleanup for Jhin. He's a cleanup champion like that. So with a combo like Diana Yasuo, which used to be a very meta combo, or with Karma and the Olaf going suicide as much damage as humanly possible, that sets up for the cleanup of the Jhin really well. It is actually quite synergetic, and it basically makes for a pick composition that has really strong teamfight potential with this cleanup dynamic. Riddle, on the other hand, they have their Lux Caitlyn, they want to play with tempo, play for plate spot, play heavy through bot. Fire Rain's the kind of guy that can make that work. Johan's the kind of guy that honestly I wish should just get replaced with someone who can play
veteran,
Elise, but whatever.
Veteran, Riddle's bot lane is currently not bot lane.
Oh, Sion! I haven't seen that for so long. So normally we see this with Tristana, also because it's easier to get demolished on top lane if you were to do this. But Banderas is basically going to kill himself in the video game right now, and in doing so is going to be able to claim one of these camps for himself and then go and try to absorb on bot lane, right? So it's going to be the red buff. He's going to be able to keep his passive going with his death.
Are they just double jungling here?
Yeah, they're double jungling.
Get to the Krugs! Oh!
He's supposed to get the Krugs here.
Oh!
He's supposed to get what, like, so the guys that make this particular combo famous.
Blue flashing,
nice,
and actually Nativz are going for an all-in at the level 1. Spooder missing the undertow onto Jinjo. Crucially, if he got that slow, the reset could have come through, and Nativz would have been in a much better position. But look at this. Riddle burning all the summoner spells, but they are denying this Olaf his early game.
So this combo was made famous by Giants with their Scion Tristana. Tristana with her E plus the ability to go into green secondary. Caitlyn is able to go into green secondary. It's just more of a detriment. You get a lot of value from resolve secondary as the the
flash from Fire Rain. First blood for the Sejuani mid. Seaball stunned under the tower, just about getting away. Meanwhile, topside, Spooder goes down to Kiba.
Yep, I mean, it was way better for Riddle because they still had a huge wave to play with that they had built up. They were going to get the crash. At that point, they could decide to recall if they wanted to and get all their HP back, whereas Spooder would have to burn TP if he wanted to match anything like that. They've translated it into a kill now on top side, so even though they lost the summoners, they've gained a lot more. But yeah, this mid play, very opportunistic, scuffed, definitely a bit off on the judgment here. That's not when the combo gets really, really strong. Viego gets the first reset, and Diana, she just has to run away. Fire Rain with a really good wave into a Yasuo that don't want none of this big porker in the mid lane.
Big porker, I like that. But yeah, if you are Nativz, how do you respond? Because you had this plan for this Olaf to kind of just have a free lane versus the Scion. That emphatically hasn't happened, and you've got this Caitlyn Lux who have actually been able to get a bit more priority themselves. It looks like the response is to invade Johan and try and ruin his day. Still has the flash available. Is staying on that side of the wall for way too long. Goes down to Baloo. Double buffs over to the Karma.
Yep, I mean, if you have a winning midsection, a really good thing to do would be then to play through your 2v1 lane into the enemy jungle and diagonal jungle in towards top side. And if you pull off the diagonal jungle with a winning mid, then the enemy jungler basically gets shut out of the game with only one quadrant. That's less viable given the catch-up XP, but if these setups then remain, you can remove enemy jungler from the game and defend against a Riddle dive, which is the jungler's only possible way back out. In this game, they had Baloo go topside really early, and that would effectively get a similar thing in terms of dive defense, but Spooder ultimately died anyway because they were really, really ham on the opening. This Scion's doing a bit too well, given the circumstances, by the way. So we're well beyond the pale on this.
Oh my
but there
God,
are ways to counter.
Banderas is 2 levels up on Spooder. Olaf has just like nowhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you die of a massive fat wave coming into tower. You fall behind like this.
Oh no, Scuffed. I'm not sure you're going to get to that wall in time. You are, but Johan can follow you over. The Blade of the Ruined King may not be enough, but the Spectrum Wall comes through in time to give the Riddle jungler a kill, and now he's hunting for Seabell. Going to be able to take away these wolves.
Scuffed kind of did this to himself, though. Like, the judgment on the opening play wasn't there, and now it looks to be Snowball Central for the Viego. We've seen Johan Snowball and the Viego, and we've seen how Fire Rain plays with that. We've seen the story writ large before, and it's going the same way it did. Fire Rain is level 6 now from the previous wave. He's going to start playing heavily around this 2v2 on the bot side and try to snowball the game for them.
And what a response play, actually, from Riddle. Like, we talk about these guys being extremely good, a very smart team, and that's what we've seen here. Able to adapt to the situation and implement a plan that, yes, Nativz maybe could have responded to in a little bit of a stronger way, but fundamentally, you're forcing these mistakes, you're forcing Nativz into a position that they're not comfortable in.
Yeah, I mean, you also reveal nothing. Right? Like, what do you reveal? You have the capability to do a swap, but if you don't do the swap at all, the information's useless. I guess the enemy could consider you're going to do it once you lock Scion, but you just lock Scion on 4th, 5th pick. You don't reveal anything about your standard play by doing something like this against a lower team, and it's basically a guaranteed win, because you throw your opponents off. These guys practice all week against standard compositions, so yeah, you're going to end up winning the game from an opening set of moves like this. Remix doesn't seem to care that he just saw Drake die on his screen, and is all the way up.
He's got Flash, he uses it, but it will not be enough. First kill of the game for Jinjo on the Caitlyn, and Riddle really starting to pull away from Nativz in the early stages.
Game paused. Apparently they just didn't see the Drake on their screen, I guess. That's not confirmation from broadcast, by the way. Just bit. You do see when Drake's done, and you know their bot side if Drake just got done. Like, it's a bit weird that Remix decides in that moment to try to greed for the 4th shot. But yeah, a good start by... Oh, we're back in the game. Great start by the Riddle lineup. Right, great start. Great strategy that they've got going here. I associate this the most with Giants, but this isn't necessarily their invention. Just ever since the armor changes to the bot tower relative to all the other towers, this has been Giants' thing to do in certain games.
And so now, if you're Riddle, how do you progress from this state? Like, what are we going to be looking at in the next 5 minutes? What are they going to be doing?
Standard Caitlyn play, you want to break open one of these towers and start rotating Caitlyn around the map, right? Caitlyn is no longer that champion where she has a really bad mid-game if you don't get the early game off, though, because her 2 item is so insane now that you have the option to go Infinity Edge second. But still, you would expect mid-jungle to play heavy around this bot lane. We have seen a really good peel play off from the Drake, but right now it seems to be all about that Herald, and Lux Caitlyn aren't included in that play.
Well, and they kind of don't need to be, right? Because Fire Rain has secured mid-priority endlessly on this Sejuani, and if you've got mid-priority, you've got priority around the Herald pit. Seabell on the bottom side jungle as well, not able to respond. Johan picks that up for free, 8 minutes in.
Yeah, they don't need to be, but Sion is picked here more sacrificially, and if you have bot lane reset and move through top with that Sion, on that Sion priority, it's free plates for your bot lane, and Sion can absorb the wave bot, and that wave that goes missing on bot lane goes missing for the Sion and not your Caitlyn Lux. You would prefer that kind of scenario, but it looks like they're going to sacrifice a wave on Sion anyway, but they're going to do that in favor of a play by the Sion on the bot side.
It has been spotted out, but Banderas doesn't seem to care. Is now going to take this recall, just making sure the wave gets escorted in. Fire Rain moving towards the top side. Actually, it looks like Riddle are going to be going for a dive on the bottom side. Remix caught out all alone with nothing to do. Kiba with the kill.
I mean, he had...
Ooh, Spooder, very low on mana, is going to look for a turnaround, get some decent damage down onto Johan, and Baloo flashing over the wall to try and save his top laner. May be able to accomplish it, but no, the Karma goes down, the Olaf goes down, Seaball with a massive ultimate to pick up a couple of kills for himself. Double for the Diana to rescue the play for Nativz.
Yeah, very, very to the wire though. Spooder could have easily gotten those 2 kills for himself. That was very close. In a different circumstance, he absolutely gets those. The kill on bot lane though, right? Like, you had the early recognition of the Sion, and yet still you die there. I mean, what else do? If you take the massive L on the wave, it's really bad for you. This play on top, great to have Diana on the board. Crucial part of your big combo, which is the Diana Yasuo combo. Maybe that's a window for them to take care of Jinjo Kiba later on, who are right now steamrolling.
I don't think that Steamwell's going to be able to get out of this. Just about gets the shield in time. Flash forward from Banderas. Scuffed will get the trade kill, but if the Sion is 1v2ing your Diana Yasuo, you've got problems.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Diana just didn't reset off the play on top and probably began the play on low HP, though obviously I didn't see the start of that play. I don't think Sion is actually in a position 1-2-1 with only one item to straight 1v2 both those like that. It must have been that Diana stayed on lowish HP, which is a mistake by Seaball, and especially when he had those double buffs and when he had that economy, he should be looking to reset rather than greed for a scuttle that's on the side of the map that he doesn't care about right now.
Johan seeming to care about the bottom side of the map a fair bit, but not establishing too much vision towards there. Nativz have hit back, to be fair to them. They have attempted to assuage the bleeding that Riddle has been inflicting on them, but every time this wave gets shoved in, Jinjo and Kiba get more damage onto the tower, get it closer to falling down. We've still got 2.5 minutes until the plates fall off, so this Caitlyn is going to be massively accelerated if you can knock down this tower in the next 120 seconds.
But I mean, their crucial combo is Diana Yasuo. It's a double assassin combo, and it's into a Sejuani and a Sion and shields coming out of the Lux onto stuff like Viego. It's difficult to find burst. It has to be done on the Caitlyn, and that's where they're looking to make the play. So low.
Keeper's on 2 HP!
Oh, wow. Seaball doesn't find the Q.
Not quite able to find him. Johan thinking about a play. Fire Rain is waiting in the wings in the river as well. Is going to opt against it. This is what I'm talking about. Nativz, they're willing to do stuff, but if the enemy support is surviving on slithers of HP like that, it's the same as you'd not done any damage at all to them.
I mean, Seaball, if he wants to characterize himself as the fixer, he has to be the guy making these plays, and he has made some so far, even with some mistakes in between. And this bot lane, both teams need to play for it.
Yeah, trying to do the Drake, but disrespecting the potential of Fire Rain to find that engage. This is now going to go over to Riddle, their second Drake of the game, the mid laner, teleporting onto the top side to deny Spooder that tower.
Yeah. I mean, a big advantage they easily could have had was that Olaf-Sion matchup, but Riddle, they just dodged it entirely, opted for the free advantages on plates on Caitlyn. Johan forcing Remix and Baloo back to their tower. Lux coming in on the flank, she could look to interrupt or... Oh, she went for the ult and gets it!
Look for a kill!
She gets it! Why interrupt? Like, killing is the biggest interrupt. You interrupt their life, you know?
Well, I tell you what, that is... It's a longer timer than a recall, right? Yeah. So it's like a death. Oh, Seaball! Try to trade one back onto Jinjo. This bot lane tower still standing for a little bit. Kiba wants to get the auto in. will not need to. First tower falling in the bottom lane in favor of Riddle. 4,500 gold to the good as we're approaching the 14-minute mark.
5-plate spot. Sejuani looking pretty strong right now. At least very unkillable, and that's what matters, right? Because if anything's going to pop off, it's going to be this Diana, it's going to be this Yasuo once he finally gets his items, and they're not going to be able to deal with the Sedge. They have to get to the Caitlyn, they have to get to the Lux, but you're going to have to fight Sedge, you're going to have to fight Sion on your way there. Unless somehow Riddle lose control of the map, right? Look at the game that we just witnessed, okay? What was the issue that Unique had versus Veneer, right? It was that Lingerie was constantly able to find these flanks because of these massive vision holes. But Riddle, they're not like that, right? Kiva's going to make sure to defend the flanks, but that's the big thing you need. Because if you have to do a front-to-back against this team, your assassins just do not matter.
Yeah, you've got a Sejuani on a mid laner's income, and that's a pretty disgusting prospect for anyone that's trying to initiate with some burst. Nativz grouping with a few members towards this mid lane, but they're not able to get the wave shoved in, so Jinjo and Kiba absolutely fine.
I mean, Fire Rain is just... He's kind of like... I'm sorry, Kiba, but like Fire Rain's kind of my favourite player.
I think he's currently 1v1ing Spuda at the moment, as in the mid lane we're seeing the
That's
combo
what they
pull
needed!
through. Jinjo dashes away, but Scuffed is able to kill him as Banderas knocks up 2 on the back line. Yasuo shielded, ignited, dead from Johan's damage. And Seabol escaping under the tower. A 1-for-1, not the worst for Nativz, but Fire Rain on the side at level 11 is a massive threat that they need to be aware of.
A 1-for-1 on the guy that they could actually get the trade kills on. Really good by them to find one window, but, you know, they're going to lose the tower off of it, and they have to consistently find it. And next time round, Jinjo will have the exhaust. It was on cooldown in that fight. If they had a timer on the exhaust, they know it's up now. It's not going to be as free the next time Jinjo's out of position. Look at the replay here. Jinjo Sven syndroming it like mad here, in hitting the wave as if his life depended on it. And his life did depend on it, but it depended on him going for a soft reset here instead. The moment he autos it, everybody goes in. They know it's their opportunity. They know it's go time. But again, next time, even if Jinjo decides to do it, he's going to have the exhaust. Realistically, they just had to wait for his teammates to be in position before he did anything to the wave. You don't care if you don't get priority in that particular one, which means even though it's good capitalization, it's not a mistake you can consistently expect from Jinjo. Or maybe you can.
Potentially. Scuffed walking up is going to get hit by the Spectre more, and the Lux ultimate to Immortal Shield Break procced, so no additional safety for the Yasuo. But I like that Nativz have been doing it. It's something that's characterized really all of our teams that have fallen behind today, is they're not going to go down without a fight. It's better to lose a game quickly in 30 minutes than to just slowly bleed out over 40, 45, right? And it's what we want to see. It was the interview with Pride that we were having. He was talking about making sure that the teams that do go to EMEA Masters are as prepared as possible. And if you're constantly fist fighting, even against these teams that don't have a shot to challenge you in the playoffs, that's going to make your life even better once it gets to that regional competition.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted... I'm going to be real, though. Like, yes, they are 11-5 against Nativz, but you would prefer a cleaner game. But that being said... Kiva's one.
Seabell
nice.
Getting a shutdown. That is a load of gold actually onto the Diana, and Scuffed is moving over as well. I think Riddle are going to have to give up this top lane tower, and looking at the rest of the map, there's nothing that they can really trade for it.
Has to be Kiva and it has to be Caitlyn. You have to isolate them. Everyone
Double
else, look how
knock
hard it is.
up! Oh my word! There's nothing that they can do against Johan. Steals the corpse of Seabol, and Fire Rain will take his life. The Glacial Prison just about too short for Spuda to get caught out, but Johan is still going forward in the harrowed path. Fire Rain flashing forward with the Arctic Assault as Remix is here to try and provide a little bit of disengage. Jinjo with the Gale Force headshot takes out Baloo. Johan will not escape from the fourth shot from Remix, but it's a double to the Riddle AD carry.
Okay, like, they need to get these picks on Caitlyn Lux, but they cannot take on the rest of the lineup until they have a significant amount more items, right? You have to take it and you have to leave, because if you don't, this is a team composition that can extend fights as long as they need, and they win those extended fights right now, right? Sion into Olaf wins if the Olaf fights him through the Sion passive. Sion's not even afraid to die in those circumstances. Sejuani, 9 unkillable, will get full rotations of a passive off over and over and over again, paired with the Sion and the Viego. And the Viego, that guy is happy to wait as long as he needs to get that first reset, because once he gets that, he's very difficult to take out. Unless, of course, you know, you have 50 billion forms of ruddy crowd control.
Well, unfortunately for Nativz, that's not something that they can really rely on. And the fact they have fallen behind in this game and the fact that they lack a tank means that Riddle can go a bit more aggressive for these plays. Spooder is reduced to stealing away camps for his jungler to try and get a little bit of gold for himself as Riddle starting up their third Drake of the game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, soul point's huge, but also that really punishes Nativz for how impatient they've been. Get the Caitlyn pick, back off. Get the Lux pick, back off. But if you keep allowing the enemy to force you off the map for extended periods of time, i.e. kill you, then you're not going to get the economy you need to contest that soul, and that soul was inevitable.
Oh,
He's not letting him have anything.
That looks very, very silly. Scuffed at a 1v1 against Fire, and I can't remember the last time that I saw a Yasuo losing out on that, but when there's a 2-level difference, it's a bit more understandable.
I remember the last time I saw Scuff losing out on that.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I was implying before this game, because that is a matchup that definitely hasn't gone great for the Nativz mid laner.
Yeah, I mean, I respect the attempts, but this hasn't been the best game from him, right? But luckily, if he gets onto the next item, then he can play any way he wants, and he has a level of guaranteed success against the Kate the Lux, and arguably the Viego at that point. If you can remove the Viego, there's the argument that Sejuani and Sion effectively become useless. But as any the Bourse FFS player knows, Sion always finds a way to be useful in the fights. But that's really what Nativz want to do. But the question is, can he get onto that Infinity Edge in the next 3 minutes and 40 seconds? If he can, and the Seabell is able to get on towards the Shadow Flame that I assume he is building, then maybe they have the burst to try to make the fight a 5v3 by insta-giving the Kate Lux.
Yeah, so despite the gold advantage that Riddle do have for themselves, is items that really determine your power level. And so if Nativz can find that spot where maybe not item parity is achieved, but they've at least got these core items on their key carries, then there's something that you can look for here. We've seen Riddle over the last sort of minute or so establish some decent vision around this top side. Baron is on the table, that's no real surprise. And for the side of Nativz, it's really difficult to check into a load of these champions because you can't walk forward into a Sion, into a Sejuani, into a Lux. There's CC there for days, and there's not really enough health bar on the side of Nativz to prevent that from taking you down.
You absolutely can walk forward into a Sion. Oh, you mean walk forward and live? Yeah, no. Scuff knows that better than anyone. At this point in the game, Spooder learning from you right now, or learning from experience, you know, which is the teacher of all. Hopefully, that's the last time we see Spooder do that. Hint, it probably won't be. Can Scuff win this 1v1?
Oh, it's going to be damn close. The stun comes through from Far Rain. Hold on, it's still a 1v1. Jinjo! Disrespecting the gentleman's agreement in top lane, but it's another kill for Riddle's new AD carry. He's found himself in a decent spot. That's a 5th for himself. Yeah, Caitlyn definitely not suffering from a mid-game slump.
There is no gentleman's agreement in League, all right? There is none. It's a fist fight to the death, all right? You know that bit in Game of Thrones where the guy wins that... You know that guy who ends up being like Tyrion's like knight or something? When he wins that initial 1v1? The woman's like, you don't fight with honor, and he's like, no, but he did, pointing to
Does
the
that happen in the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones? Because that's all the Game of Thrones that I've experienced, unfortunately. Riddle have started up this Baron, slowing down the DPS, whilst Nativz are thinking about an engage. Spooder has been caught out, and the result is going to be the same to the fight he took in bot lane just a moment ago. A 5th death for the Nativz top laner, and Banderas is chilling in top lane. A solo bolo onto Seabell, even though he had a couple friends with him.
See, that's the kind of flank that Veneer are getting off on Unique that just isn't possible to get off against Riddle here for no other reason than Riddle have their flanks covered with wards, right? There are wards back in the shallow defensive position on the way towards the Baron. In case something like that was to happen, you're not going to get a Lingui here.
You're not killing Banderas. You're not killing Banderas! This Scion is a man you tried to kill that kills you instead. And 21 kills to the good, a Baron to the good, and a guaranteed Infernal Soul in 30 seconds. Riddle are really showing why they deserve to be right at the top of the table.
Assassin composition into a tank team is going about as well as you'd expect, and honestly, you would expect if any team did it to be Riddle, right? With Doinby Light in the mid lane there, and you know, with Doinby Light there, I mean, so long as top lane's able to play some tanks, you are always going to have a difficult time, right? So, I hats off to this unique strategy that Nativz have, but Riddle, they kind of went one further with that opening lane swap to get Sion out of that bad matchup. And now you're at a point where your target selection has to be very precise, very on point, but you pretty much have to front to back against a very tanky team as an assassin team because of how Riddle control the map.
And Fire Rain, Banderas got around about 10,000 HP between them, and Nativz could spend a decent half a minute wailing into them, and I'm not sure if they'd get any kills. Infernal Soul now just augments the power that Riddle have already demonstrated throughout this game. They've got still about a minute and a half left of Baron, and seeing where they're standing, barreling down the bot lane, it's clear the next goal is Nativ's base.
It occurs to me that, I mean, Firing could choose to fight here, but he could also just run away. It occurs to me that, like, given that Kiba actually gets to play League of Legends with Jinjo's tendencies, do you think Kiba just drop-kicked Reptile out of the roster? Or...
Yeah, after he stayed bot lane for that extra wave a few weeks ago, Kiba's just like, yeah, no. Obviously, the situation with Reptile, hope that he is feeling good, and obviously we hope that his recovery goes well. I'm not sure that Nativz are going to be able to recover the position that they're in. This inhib is open. Jinjo just need a couple more autos to take it down. Riddle, they'll back away. They'll play it nice and controlled, nice and safe. Now turning their attention towards the mid lane.
What was that movie with James McAvoy
Boss Baby.
And...
Boss Baby.
No.
That's the only film that I've seen. Triple knock-up from Banderas in the base! Oh, Nativz, this might be your Waterloo. They've actually not lost anybody just yet before Siebel dives into his death. Jinjo is unstoppable. As these waves fall in, Riddle will look to end. Fire Rain TPing onto the minion to keep it alive. No Diana for the Yasuo to ult off, and Scuffed is being forced back from Fire Rain for what feels like the millionth time this game. The waves are moving in. There is one Nexus Tower remaining. Brilliant binding from Kiba, and Jinjo with another. Johan has slain Baloo, and Scuffed will escape to the relative safety of his fountain. Of course, there is no safety from Riddle as they claim an ace, they claim the Nexus, and they send themselves to double-digit Ws, 10-1.
Was it a speed run with Elise? No, and I'll never forgive them for that. Johan is on the list for the rest of the game. For the rest of the split, I'm sorry. But it was a win. It was pretty clean, all right?
Yeah.
There were times where both Kiba and Jinjo got caught out by the assassin combo, but realistically, even with that, it never felt like Riddle were at risk of losing this game, right? Even in those circumstances, they found return kills onto Sebel, they found the mid lane turret, they were able to find things that worked for them. Very good game by Riddle against Nativz, about as one-sided as we were expecting, not as one-sided as we were hoping for, Elise fans. Yeah, and also, bit of hope for me, right? That it's not just going to be Zeri Lulu scaling in the bot lane into skirmishes, that they are willing to give Jinjo this kind of aggression that he loves to play. And I think that's going to open up a lot more opportunities for Kiba to prove to us that he can also play League of Legends Clash of Fates as well. But obviously, stuff like this, you can't expect every game, right? With the Yasuo opting into the 1v2 really early on. The really easy transitions into dives. I liked that map movement from Banderas, but even then was a point of criticism, right? Why not just have the bot lane go top on the top priority? Sure, you have top going bot side after the Herald for that play, but it's not like Riddle were doing everything perfectly. But we're seeing signs of potentially Riddle 2.0, right? A Riddle that likes aggression from the early game onwards, but it's a 26-minute game. Veneer can close games faster than that against teams like Nativz, right? So still some questions about how this new Riddle is going to work out. Like here, sure, looks like a really, really good pick for Nativz, but they have to give up so much for this that they lose mid lane tower for it, and that's always huge to open up mid lane tower as any team. So even though yes, sometimes you could argue bot lane's being mispositioned, it's not real, you know? It's not real, right? And it's easily fixable, and they were never at risk of losing this game. And my god, man, just having these kinds of tanky champions, look how difficult it is. Fire Rain is just laughing in their face, and then Banderas is coming in with about 4,000 HP, just not caring.
Very, very disgusting to play against. Veteran, I've been asked by production to ask you if there's any player on Riddle that particularly stood out for you this game that would be your MVP for the match.
I mean, I'm a big Fire Rain fan, as you know, right? I have the habit of giving him MVPs. I was hoping it would be a Kiva MVP on the champion he played, but he got caught out twice, so, you know, just give it to Fire Rain, right? I love the breadth of champions he's picking. He didn't really put a foot wrong at all this game. I love his playstyle. I think every mid laner should be playing the kind of meta that Fire Rain is playing, but I'm hopeful for the entire lineup, right? I really am, because now that you have an aggressive bot lane, Fire Rain's playstyle is even better, and you're playing the proper meta that we've been playing since 13.1.
Yeah. Or at least the meta that Veteran wants to be the meta.
It is the meta. It's the strongest thing. It's the most effective tactic. All right?
No, hey, that's a backronym. That's a backronym. People made that up after people started calling it the meta. So that's just an invention, okay? That's a big lie, big fabrication, Veteran. But I like the point that you brought up about Riddle having a sort of being almost 2.0, having a different element to their gameplay, because this is a roster. This is a team who, we said it right at the start of the split, we're saying it now, we're probably going to be saying it all through playoffs, that wants to be representing the NLC at EMEA Masters, that wants to be winning the entire damn split. And when you get into best of scenarios, having multiple ways that you can play out a League of Legends game, having different avenues to destroying the enemy nexus is an absolutely great thing.
I would wonder if they get Reptile back at some point, if they start switching between a lineup with Jinjo and a lineup with Reptile and alternating depending on certain situations, right? I could see a meta where you'd prefer Reptile and a meta where you'd prefer Jinjo, right? Maybe having two ADCs makes them uniquely unpredictable up until the last moment.
Right, as we are now going to be heading into the interview, we are going to be joined by Spooder from Nativz. Now, I saw a little bit earlier on my Twitter timeline an Olaf play that was pretty damn pog. Unfortunately, a bit of a different game today, mate.
Yeah, very unexpected lane swap. Very cool, though. I really did not expect it, and I'm happy to see that such a different way of playing the game, because I was like, oh, this was really smart the moment I realized that they were top.
And it was quite an inventive thing, because coming into this game, we were looking at your draft and we were thinking, actually, this has got a very, very strong uniqueness to it, with the Jhin Karma a bit more of a poke base, bit of a safety utility bot lane, and then this top side that can have a lot of strong skirmishing potential. Was that the idea with these champion pick going into the game?
Yeah, basically, we had Olaf, and with the picks that we saw, it was like Olaf is pretty fine into Kate Lux because they have so much single target damage, right? So if you have some extra engage like a Diana Yasuo or something like this, then because they have so much single target damage, they can't really kill us. They can only focus one of us. So the plan was, get kind of those small draft advantages, and then when we team fight, we would be really strong, I would be really tanky, and Jhin would be there to follow up with the ults and stuff, And Kama would be there to speed us up and support us to, doing our jobs better.
Yeah, but then obviously not the way things turns out.
Yeah.
And you yourself highlighted that lane swap. Veteran, you were really enamored with that on the cast. Do you think that there's a way that Nativz should look at that and go, hold on, there's something that we can take from this and apply in our own gameplay?
I mean, I do like responding to the swap initially by sending Karma topside, but a lot of it's going to be contingent on you having a winning midsection and able to do diagonal jungle. If they're able to do like an invasion red side with that Karma into diagonal in towards topside and defend from a potential dive by Caitlyn Lux, that would be better off. But you then have to have experience on this, right? Giants are the only ones that really do this on any kind of consistent basis. And I don't know if you guys have ever scrimmed them, or if they even do that in scrims. You're going to catch a lot of teams off guard just by doing the lane swap at all. And I think having the Karma topside and trying to defend against the dive was a good on the spot adaptation by their team. Just when you have Olaf in that situation, it's already kind of difficult. You're on the back foot. That's not the kind of champ I'm thinking of in terms of defending against that kind of bot lane, right? But on that Olaf, I wanted to ask you, right, you actually have a history, and you wouldn't know it by watching the NLC and the picks you've been doing right now, but on previous splits, you do have a history of playing stuff like the Camille, like a lot of split pushers, carry champions on the top lane. You've only really had like one other game on a carry champ like that outside of today here in the NLC. Is that something we're going to see more from you guys though? Because I've been excited to see that side of Spooder. So do you think you're going to get more freedom to do those kinds of picks? And then maybe they have Scion, maybe you'll understand what they could be doing.
Yeah, I think we'll be going into more of like you said, more of a carry top, since that's always what I have done more, right? Like you said, I like the Gwen, I like the Camille, the Fiora, the Olaf.
Yes.
So I think we'll be playing more, stuff that suits me, get something like that suits everyone. Because right now we're like, someone's not on comfy, someone's like less on comfy and stuff, and obviously it's not going too well. And yeah, next time we see the Scion, we can be like, something, maybe they're doing it again.
Oh yeah. One last question then. Why are you ruining our production's lovely widescreen box with your vertical camera?
I don't have a camera, man. It's only my phone.
Do you
I'm
think
sitting on
it's
my
like or something, man? Like,
I'm on the phone. It's like I'm vibing.
Hey, right. The cam may be scuffed, but I'm liking the shirt. You're looking very, very dapper for us.
Right.
Spooder, I'm just going to give you the opportunity now to kind of talk some trash if you want to. Banderas and yourself were meant to be fist fighting top lane, and he lane swaps away from you. Have you got anything to say to him?
I told him after the game, and I told him the moment he locked Scion, this is not what I signed up for. He's playing like a baby. Next time in solo queue, we're gonna have some fun.
Baby Banderas, alright.
Least cocky Olaf player.
Least cocky Olaf player.
Oh, Spooder, thank you very much.
I love him.
It's great seeing that banner between you guys. Thank you very much for joining us for the interview. I look forward to our next conversation, mate.
Yeah. See you. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you. And now
again,
we are going to be joined by a man who finally got to play League of Legends. Kiba.
Hello.
It wasn't a Lulu, it was a Lux this time. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It was a fun game, so we got to try some stuff.
You played League.
Yeah.
You played League. What was that like?
Well, pretty good, to be honest. Also, finally, when I get told to go away from turrets, so I don't steal plates, I'm like, dude, I'm single AP, get a grip. And then I kept hitting turret and stuff. That was really fun.
Based.
I like every time we come in to have a chat with you, we're very, very quick to hear about your AD carry being a little bit less.
I'm telling you, he dropkicked Reptile to get another ADC, and now he's going to dropkick this guy the moment he takes a plate next time.
Ginger needs to be careful, One more bad comment, and I need to take him out.
Send him back to Australia.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on how that change has been, because obviously you were playing with Reptile for the start of the split, and unfortunately he's had to been subbed out, and so you guys have got Ginger in. What's that change been like for you guys, and what's the difference between the two players in terms of the way that they play AD?
they're kind of similar. One is more consistent. I think when you look at them, it's like I think Reptile's highs are really, really, really high. Like you saw it in some NLC games as well in teamfights. Like this guy, when he's on it, he's really on it, you know? Like it's not like Jinju can't do that, but Jinju consistently has a it's basically consistency, right? Like Jinju always does what is minimum required of him a bit more, right? Like, yeah, I mean, they're both good. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just a bit different because
interesting.
Especially opens up more stuff because I think if there's inconsistencies, I don't really want to play Caitlyn because if the funny happens early game and you play Caitlyn, you don't want to play Caitlyn anymore. So, yeah, I mean, in that regard, it's not that it changed that much, to be honest. Like we can't really feel a change in the team in general. Like it's like plug and play kind of, if that makes sense. Both are really good players.
Both are really good players. In my experience, watching both of them for a long time, I mean, I look at the pool that you were playing with Reptile, and it was a lot of Zeri mostly, plus some Sivir. Xayah was probably the most aggressive thing you guys play, given that Lucian Nami is now more of a mid-game spiking thing. But here, you're immediately in with the Caitlyn, right? Just 3 games in with Jinjo. And Jinjo, characteristic in the past, has been one of those play for turrets, Forgiven-esque, everyone come bot lane 24/7 kind of guys, right? Obviously, you might prefer that, man who doesn't like being on Lulu duty ever. But for me, that seems to be a stylistic difference. Would you agree with that, or am I over-exaggerating that? Maybe it's different in scrims or something.
It's true, but also when we had Reptile, we did play the other stuff in scrims. We just weren't comfortable playing it on stage.
Gotcha.
But we are comfortable playing it now. That's the main difference, because Jinjo is used to playing like that, so you don't need to get it in the system, right? Like he can call for what he needs. He doesn't need other people to say, dude, you need this. You know what I mean? Like he already knows what he needs to do in order to carry these kind of games. So yeah, it's just more like that, right? Like he's really confident. Like he will make sure we all know what he needs on mid waves as well. Oi boys, get on this mid wave and stuff like that. And you're like, oh fuck.
So is this the end of the Enchanter main Lulu Yuumi Kiba and the beginning of Ashe Lux Heimerdinger, you know, Turbo Fist Kiba with Jinjo pairing?
Let's see. I'm not giving away anything. Because
one last go on.
We have Nord left, and I think if you beat Nord, we're basically first. Okay, I'm not gonna jinx it now and lose to Verdun tomorrow, but if we beat Nord, we should be first. So I'm not gonna say anything. You can watch yourself.
Cool. Then I have one last question. Do you hate me, or why didn't you just pick Elise there? Like, Elise, Caitlyn, Lux, like, how do you not just insta-win the game?
We wanted to... Okay, first of all, they picked Jhin. So, in my head, if you pick Elise... Okay, I'm leaking, but I'm leaking just for you. I don't know why I always have you on my interviews, but anyways. So, I think... If you have Elise, we don't want to swap because we have winning bot side. Like we win the TC really hard.
Yep.
So then I don't want to swap, but I want to swap to show other teams that we can swap, and we will do it if you. You know? So, it's a win-win. That's why I didn't go Elise. Like, in scrim, in a scrim, we probably would have picked Elise. That's all. I'm not gonna say more. Just everyone know we can swap now. So if you blind the funny on top lane, you will get swapped on. And we have done it with multiple champions, not just Sion and Caitlyn. So
interesting. Yeah, I don't think you leak much by saying we're willing to pick Elise. All right, I think that just leaves it sane. So
that's true.
And I think you've clearly demonstrated that you can initiate a swap, and it works out very, very well for yourself. Kiba, lovely to chat to you as always. Congrats on the win today. We will see you later, mate.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Yeah, evening. Thank you.
They could have picked Elise, but
they could have.
Let's just swap. You know, it'd be funny.
I kind of just want a lane swap. It'd be really, really funny.
I'm just feeling the swap.
With that out of the way, we have only got one game left this evening. Our match of the day with Verdant taking on Nord. That's going to be coming up right after this break. Don't go anywhere.